Have you questioned how you ended up in your current role and wonder if it's the best fit for you? Or have you ever marveled at how many career paths have led you to the perfect role? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you, my friends, are in the right place. Dan Stalp has over 23 years of experience leading, training, and coaching high-performance individuals. He has risked everything completely and started his career over twice. Dan is co-author of 2 books, and he's with us today to talk about career significance.
What I thought I would just start out with is career significance. That might be 2 words that maybe you've never put together. So what I thought I would do is just give you an example of what it isn't, and then give you an example of what it is. So let's imagine you're 53 years old, you've climbed the corporate ladder, you've sacrificed a lot, you've gotten the raises, you've got the title, but you hate going to work every day. And you're thinking, my gosh, at this point, I'm more trapped by my success because I'm making a lot of money. And so for me to do what I really want to do, I can't do that right now. So I just need to kind of ride this out to 65. And I'm fearful of doing something different. Now imagine instead, it's a 53-year-old, but 12 years ago, he or she took a chance and they did what they were meant to do. And not just what they've been doing. So what got them to where they were was successful, but something was missing. They weren't having that positive impact. They weren't having that, just what they didn't want to get up in the morning, but now they do, and they're really looking forward to the next 15 years until retirement. Well, the first example is about career success. The second example is about career significance. So to give you an example of that, to take that a step further, on the left, you'll see a guy that's, he's got that trophy, right? He's dressed in a nines, young, good-looking guy, probably won some sales award, right? But what's missing in that picture? And this is where we can get interactive. What's missing in that picture on the left? People. Now compare and contrast. Look at the picture on the right. Does anyone know where that was and who that was that might have had that vantage point? Martin Luther King is correct. And I have a dream speech. So that was his vantage point in the summer of 1963 when he gave that speech. Now what's interesting, as you look at that right picture, what's missing in that picture? Martin Luther King. Otherwise you would have all known, right? So that's another example of the difference between success, is in fact, who's ever heard of the 4 S's before? Anybody? I'd be shocked if anybody's hands go up. 4 S's. All right, well, let me give you 2 of them. The success one, well, the first S is selfish. Now, if you've had a 16-year-old, if you've been a 16-year-old, you know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, it's all about them. It's all about, what they're going to do. But what's interesting about the second S, which is success, is that oftentimes it's tied to selfishness, but it's sort of an okay way of getting around it. Like, I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it because, I want them to have a better life than I did. But the problem is sometimes when they're doing it, it's at what expense? And then they find themselves in their 40s and 50s trapped. Now the third S is significance. Now what do you think the 4th S might be? Probably not going to get this one right. I'll ask it anyway. What? Service. Close. Surrender. Now when you think about power, do you think about surrender? Like I'm waving the white flag. I give up. Well, actually, there's power in surrender because what it does is we start to shed the things that have got us to where we are, but aren't necessarily going to get us to where we want to go. And if you look at when our dreams tend to stop, it's around that same age. You got to be careful. You better not do that. I don't know anybody else that does that. And these might have been well-meaning coaches, parents, aunts and uncles, authority figures, but they were just trying to protect you. And then what happens is whatever you would have drawn as a small child, it kind of starts to rear its head when you're in your late 30s, maybe even in your early 40s, even in your 50s, and that's where that significance starts to come. And back to the story I mentioned earlier, I know lots of people that were corporate executives, and they just said, hey, look, I'm going to go back and get my teaching degree, and they are an amazing teacher. Now, they're not making the kind of money they used to make, but they love getting up every morning. and they have that world experience to bring in. I know other people that went to become nurses. Another group of people that no one plans to do is to get into sales, right? I mean, that's rare. I'd say 10% say, oh, I can't wait. I graduated from high school. I can't wait to get into sales. 90% of us just find ourselves there. So these are talks that can help them find their significance in a road that was kind of like this, but it got them to where they are, where they're having that significance. Okay, so does anybody know who this motley crew is? The Osmond brothers. So when I was a little guy, I know I drew a farmer at least once, because that's what my dad did. But after that, I started drawing. Well, I wanted to be Donny Osmond. I'll just say it. Okay, I just said it. Everybody knows I wanted to be Donny Osmond. Now, he's about 6 years older than I am, so when that picture was taken, I was probably in about 3rd grade. I'm thinking that's 1973, circa. And I wanted to be an Osmond brother in a bad way. I mean, look at those platform shoes. I mean, can you imagine? And those cool pants, and you got to sing and dance, and the girls were swooning. I mean, what's not to like? Well, as luck would have it, that did not happen in my life. But what I will say, it's ironic that about 12 years ago, I was the second guy that I told you about, the 53-year-old, that 12 years ago I took a chance and I started over. That was in 2005 when I was introduced. And I ended up becoming a sales trainer, and for the first time, I was speaking in front of groups of people. Now, it wasn't something that I didn't want to do. It wasn't something that I yearned to do, but it was just something I just did it. You know, I was fine with it. Do you know how people would rather be in the casket than give their own eulogy? Back to that whole deal. You know, so a lot of people don't want to do this. And I was just mediocre about it, or I was just, neutral, not mediocre. Well, what I came to find out after a couple of years was that this was really what I was meant to do. And what's interesting is I was reminded of that I wanted to be Donny Osmond when I was a young guy, a little kid. Now, isn't it interesting that I'm in front of you today? And I don't know, there's 100 people here. But what's more interesting is I'm scheduled by the end of this year to be in front of 104,000 people through speaking and through training and through radio things I do. And so now they could have done that in two little crowds, right? But my point is that's where my significance is. And when we do those drawings, oftentimes if we had more time, we would talk about how does that relate to the role you have right now? Or in other words, how does it not relate to where you are? Because there's people knocking on your door. There's people telling you, you know what, you'd be really good at this. Or have you ever thought about doing this? And we go, you know what, not now. And back to what we heard earlier, we got the kids. I got to wait till they're in school. Then I got to wait till they're in high school. Then got to wait till they're out of school. And oh my gosh, now we have college. And then when they get married, and at some point, that knocking on your door goes away. So I'm going to end with a little last-minute humor, and I'm going to leave this up here, and I don't want you to have too many judgments, but I want you to look at it very closely, if we can get it to work. Okay, so this is what a little girl drew, and she brought this home. When I grow up, I want to be like Mommy. Now, I do not want to miss a beat on this, because I'm going to actually read exactly what the mom wrote back to the teacher. Okay, so I know you guys have an idea of what that is up there. And her mom thought the same thing. So the next day, the mom sends back a note to the teacher. And she says, let's get these on here. I did say I was 53. Okay, Dear Miss Davis, I want to be perfectly clear on my child's homework illustration. It is not of me, on a dance pole, on a stage, in a strip joint, surrounded by male customers with money. I work at Home Depot, and I had commented to my daughter how much money we made in the recent snowstorm. This drawing is of me selling a shovel. Get your minds out of the gutter. Get your minds out of the gutter. All right, so be careful what you wish for. Hey, listen, I just would say, just go out, take those chances, go make a difference, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Dan Stalp, everybody. Yeah, good stuff.